had to get into it to find out what was in it. And you've heard, we're learning all the time what was in it, and it's not good. As a part of that process, the proponents of the Common Core in Georgia will say, well, we did vet it. I mean, we posted a notice of this on an obscure website and invited people to comment on it. And I brought with me a publication from the Georgia Department of Education that has that study in it. And I want you to think about this. In the state of Georgia, there are approximately 20,000 math teachers. We have approximately 17,000 English teachers. You know how many of those teachers commented on the Common Core standards? Well, no, there were a few. You had 96 math teachers and 142 English teachers comment on perhaps the most pertinent question that was asked, which was, are the standards clearly written, focused on key content, and appropriately rigorous? The fourth grade math standards, in those standards, the teachers, 82% said no, they don't. Fifth grade, 72% no, they don't. Seventh grade, 66% no, they don't meet that requirement. And algebra was a little bit better. 40% said no, they don't meet that requirement. In the area of modeling, which I understand to be where you bring everything together and solve problems, 100% of those surveyed said that the Common Core did not meet those standards. That should have been that's the biggest red flag in the world. But yet we proceeded headlong into this without a review. If we had had a review process, we would have learned that some of the other things being said about Common Core simply are not so. We're told that these are internationally benchmarked. Well, they're not. That claim has been withdrawn. If you look at how the top 3 nations in the world instruct math, Singapore, Japan, Finland, they don't do it the Common Core way. They ought to be happy over there because now they're going to look even better. If we continue in this, we're going to hurt ourselves. There's no peer-reviewed evidence that any of these programs work. We have learned that, and you've heard it tonight, that the standards themselves are deficient. We hired Professor Sandra Stotsky to review our Georgia performance standards and compare them to the Common Core standards. On a scale of 1 to 4, with 4 being the highest, the Georgia performance standards came out at a 3.6 and Common Core at 1.8. We've had a professor from Mercer University, a professor of mathematics, Mary Kay Bacalao, look at our math standards, and she tells us that our Georgia students will be a year behind. This has been confirmed by Professor James Milgram of Stanford University, who says that our students will be, again, a year to 2 years behind. So what we have now is perhaps the opportunity really to vet this and to review it in our legislature, to review it for you, the public, the parents of our students. And we have some decisions to make. We're going to have to decide, first of all, how are we going to be governed? And I think that's the most important question. How are we going to be governed? Are we going to follow a structure of government that was laid out for us in our Constitution that has served us well for so many years, that helped this country rise to the level that it has in the world? Or are we going to be governed by some obscure bureaucracy, especially when it's dealing with the governance of the education of our children, perhaps the greatest thing that we have, our most precious relation, our children. students of this state, the future of this state. Well, now I don't know about you, but I know that we don't need the Common Core to have high-quality standards in Georgia to prepare our students to compete in the global economy. You know, the fact is that we have many fine universities in this state. There are professors there that can help us determine what our students need to learn. There are teachers, there are parents, there are businesses that can all be a part of that process to determine what's going to be taught in our classroom. We have models in the United States of other states that actually decided to make significant changes in their education. They've done it. One was the state of Massachusetts. 20 years ago, they made changes. They implemented the best standards that we've had in America. And they were competing internationally. And they did it without Common Core. We can do this as well in Georgia. We just need to consider the wisdom of our forefathers who understood long ago the dangers associated with the concentration of power and government-mandated uniformity. They gave us a compound republic for a reason. There's a division of authorities between the state government and the federal government for a reason. We have to ask ourselves, what good reason is there to deviate from this principle of governance in the realm of education? And I can't think of one. I would ask you to help us out by supporting and making calls to your legislators, to the governor, the lieutenant governor, to the Speaker of the House, asking them to support Senate Bill 167 and Senate Bill 203. One will deal with the data collection. The other will prevent any further implementation of Common Core, will move us out of it, and will establish a process where our standards will be, we will ensure that our standards are set by the people of the state of Georgia. So, I appreciate your support and your help. And I know that this will happen because the people of this state, if they get motivated and if we make those phone calls, we can make this change. So, God bless you.
We're going to hear from Tanya Ditty really quick, and then we're going to have some time for some Q&A. Would you like to get that get set for that time?
Well, I want to thank you for being here, and really just part of my role this evening was just to call you to action on just letting you know what we know that's going on and asking for your help. Senator Ligon kind of outlined what we're asking for, but I will say, just being from a public policy organization, we crave for people like Senator Ligon who will lead, and so we very much appreciate his leadership on this. So a couple of things that we could ask you to do. First of all, in your seat, you have a yellow card, and on the yellow card, it gives you 5 things to do. And I'm just going to address each one extremely quick so we can get to some Q&A time. But the first thing on the list is we're asking you to contact Governor Deal, and we've given you his phone number. And we're urging you to call him and to call for hearings on Senate Bill 167 and Senate Bill 203. As late as Saturday, we know that Governor Deal still supports the standards. Even after hearing warnings like we heard tonight, he is still turning a deaf ear to our concerns on the Common Core. He told folks as such that he doesn't have a problem with the standards. He also says that the reason we can't pull out of the Common Core standards is that it costs too much to withdraw. I hope he doesn't feel that way as our state's hemorrhaging with Obamacare, because we can't afford to stay in the Common Core. Financially, it will break the backs of our state by the time the mandates come out. But I'd like to leave this with this illustration, if you are a parent who spends $5,000 on your child to go on a ski trip, and you bought all of the paraphernalia and the airline tickets and the clothes and everything that goes with it, but you get wind that there are avalanches, possible avalanches in the area where they're going to go snow skiing. Would you as a parent say, look, I've spent the $5,000, you're going to go? Well, I am saying that we might have spent some money in the state, and I know money is sensitive, but we cannot stay with Common Core on the backs of our kids. And we are asking we need him to support the hearings, and then when the hearings have an opportunity to step out of the way and let the lawmakers vote their conscience and vote how their constituents want them to vote. And so we ask you to please contact his office. It has been effective, and he needs to hear from the constituency. In your chair is also a postcard that has his address on it. We're actually doing a postcard campaign this week. We ask that you put a stamp on it and mail it in. It's going to be added to thousands of other postcards. We had a parent in South Georgia, a concerned parent, design this postcard and ask, can we not do this postcard effort? So we're doing it. That's the first thing. The second thing is to contact the offices of Lieutenant Governor Cagle. We know he is on record of opposing federal control of education. He supported Senator Ligon last year. We need his support this year. Please call his office and ask him to, with expediency, ask for hearings in the Senate on these bills and to continue to support it. You have a postcard on your chair that's addressed to the Lieutenant Governor. Please send that as well. We would ask you to do that. We ask that you call your legislators and ask them to vote in opposition to Common Core. But you know, these legislators have to have an opportunity to do it. So we need for these bills to have hearings. I hate to say it, but it's no good for them to say that we oppose Common Core, but if they don't get an opportunity to voice that, then it doesn't do us any good. So we ask that you call and ask them to do that. We're having a rally on February 4th at the state capitol. That's on the card. We're actually going to do some lobbying. And then we're having a press conference at 2 o'clock. If you can only come to the press conference, we need your support. It's a great way to show that. If you want to stay up to date on what's going on with the legislation, we have a website. I'm going to ask, I don't know, I see Kay back there. We actually, I'd love some help, Kay. I think that's back there. Or some, Gail. We have a petition to stop the Common Core. Can we pass these out so they can go down the rows? If you want to put your name and email address on here, we have a Common Core alert list. It doesn't go to anything but Common Core. But if you want your name accounted for as we send these to the governor, we would love it. We have enough, I think, just to go down each row. And so by the time it's up, we'll collect those, and we would appreciate that. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being concerned enough to come out on a rainy night. And please make those phone calls. They're very important. Thank you.
In case you don't know, Tanya was an educator in Cobb County who gave up that position. She felt so strong about this to work for this cause